Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to IGAD Leadership Academy. We are having the Daniel Mwaka Show, and today we have amazing panelists that will be discussing very serious issues that affect the Horn of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to IGAD Leadership Academy. And this evening we are having the Daniel Mwaka Show. And I'm having a very amazing panelists with me, and of course amazing audiences who are in the building. Today we are going to be discussing youth leadership in IGAD region. If you are not familiar with the IGAD, it comprises of 8 countries. And maybe during the discussion, you'll be able to know more about the IGAD region. And with me, of course, they have introduced themselves already, and I'll just be going straight into the questions on what are their roles and what motivated them, and you'll be able to pick it from there. So let me start from my brother, who is from Uganda. I just want you to reintroduce yourself and tell us what you do, then we'll jump into the discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel. My name is Daniel Lutaya. I'm a journalist, entrepreneur, lecturer, and researcher from Uganda, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Daniel. And let's go to the beautiful lady next to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. My name is Joy Garethi from Kenya. I am a junior diplomat, and I also run a social initiative by the name Somanawe 254. Somanawe 254 basically is a volunteer-based organization, and we work with young people in the community. We do promote literacy in the marginalized communities within Kenya. We also promote mental health awareness and do mentorship activities for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. You are doing amazing job in your community. And let's go to the beautiful lady on my left.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kedsan Natasfaye, and I currently am a project officer working in migration, but I've provided project support to climate change projects, public health projects, etc. And I'm very excited to be here as well.
Thank you. Yes, give it to the gentleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, and thank you for inviting me and my co-panelists to the show. My name is Sam Gitau. I am a researcher, thought leader, and a scholar on matters international affairs. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Samuel. And I'll just start straight away from Joy. Joy, you are a participant at the IGAD Leadership Academy, which is the first cohort. What motivated you to apply for this first cohort?
That's a very good question to start us off, Daniel. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, being a trailblazer is an opportunity that as a leader I cannot shy away from. Therefore, when I saw the call for applications to the IGAD Leadership Development Training, I jumped on the opportunity, mainly because IGAD is a regional organization in the Horn of Africa, touching on other countries as well as my country, Kenya. From what I understood as I was making the application is that it would give me an opportunity to be able to interact with like-minded, brilliant young leaders within the Horn of Africa region. So that was one of the most compelling reasons as to why I applied to this opportunity. But in addition to that, I wanted to gain better perspectives and understanding from leaders who've come before us, and that is coming about from the kind of speakers we've been having through the training, as well as the mentorship opportunities that this training is putting forward to me. So mainly it was about interacting with fellow leaders and also getting an opportunity to improve on my skills and learn from leaders in the industry who've done a good job in respect to ethical leadership and good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. And just for your information, we are having young leaders from 8 IGAD countries in the building. And this leads me to a question to Mr. Daniel Lutaya, who is a media entrepreneur, and he's a lecturer as well, and a researcher. Mr. Daniel, I understand we have spent days here, and I just want you to share with us what have you learned all these days that we have spent at the IGAD Leadership Academy.
Yeah, so you would think that as a journalist I'm very good at listening, but I found out through this training that I'm not very good at it. And this training has taught me to listen actively, to listen with empathy, to lead people with, to put myself in people's shoes, because, you know, as journalists we tend to just chase the next story. After telling your story, I move on to the next one, but here I have learned to put myself in people's shoes and tried maybe to follow up on, make sure that I'm having an impact on their lives, and I'm not just you know, telling stories that end in the paper or on the broadcasting. So I feel that I have also benefited from the experiences of other people who are leading in other industries and trying to understand where they come from. Because normally the people that we interview for the stories that we do are exactly the people that are in the room with me today and the days before. But I think through interacting with them, I've gotten an opportunity to not just interview them, because an interview takes about 10 minutes and I don't understand deeply what people are dealing with. There are many people here in the IGAD Leadership Academy who are in civil society, people that are dealing with, you know, very difficult situations, people who are dealing with femicide, gender-based violence, and these are people that are dealing with these things on a daily. And so listening to the lived experiences that they come with from all over these different countries gives me a new perspective on how to better tell stories that do not just that do not end in Uganda, but that resonate across the region. Because I've realized also here in this IGAD Leadership Academy that the challenges that we write about as Ugandan media are also being faced by people in Kenya, people in Eritrea, in Ethiopia. And so I feel that now we have a responsibility as journalists to now tell the story, not just of my country, but the story of all the 8 countries in this region, because our problems and our challenges that we are facing are very, very similar.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Lutaya. You have put it right. And let me go to Kitsena. Could you share exactly what you have learned in the past few days at the IGAD Leadership Academy?
Okay, thank you for this opportunity, Daniel. Similar to what Daniel was saying, I think you learned that, for one, a lot of our frustrations and issues and challenges are similar, and they cross borders. They're not just one state to one state. If you think about climate shocks or migration flow, then we are each other's host communities, we are each other's transit areas, so we quite literally share the problems, and that's one of the reasons why we need regional integration, better regional integration. And this training kind of emphasized that point for me, that if we help each other, we are helping ourselves, and if we help ourselves, we are helping each other. So, and then in terms of listening and communication and conciseness, this training overall has emphasize the individual qualities you need to also help each other, because one of the concepts was Ubuntu, which emphasizes collectivism, and I think by improving ourselves, we are improving each other, and vice versa as well. So this training has really been a very holistic and comprehensive experience overall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. These wonderful experiences that you guys had, and I believe one of you most likely will be leaders in the Horn of Africa, or in Africa as well. And some of the challenges that Africa is facing will be wiped out. Now, let's go to a little bit deeper to what really brought us here. We understand that the Horn of Africa, despite the gains, the peace that we have for some time now, some other regions in the Horn of Africa is going through crisis. Now, with the knowledge that you have gained from here, with the understanding and leadership that you have learned from here, how are you going to ensure that the leadership skill that you have learned from here create a positive impact in the Horn of Africa? So any of you can answer from here. I'm reserving him for something. He has a very serious question I'm going to ask him. So, but
let me
yes, you
just,
can come into that.
Throw in a little weight here. I think one of the key things that I personally want to take home is, the creation of the leader that I want to see. What kind of leader do I want to see in the IGAD region? And before I even put that in perspective, one of the questions that I often ask myself is that, how did we land in this crisis? Before I start looking for solutions, I must then try to establish how exactly we landed up in this problem. And I think, in my view, is that immediately after the colonial systems, as a region, we took too much time to take off. That is why we keep on struggling with the socio-economic and political issues, and it gets difficult, when you introduce the issues to do with conflict and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But back to your question is, who do I envision? How exactly do I envision the IGAD regional leader that I want to see? So, and the basis of that is the creation of an ethical leader. So how do we create that? That's the question that we ought to respond to.
And I wanted to question, but I'll also ask, with the knowledge that you have gained from the IGAD Leadership Academy, how are you going to ensure that you contribute to the peace and stability in the Horn of Africa? You can. This is open for anybody else.
Yeah. So for me, again, I'm going to talk on the in the context of journalist, someone who communicates with people on a daily. I feel that we need to become merchants of truth, because if you look at the crises that we are facing all over the region, some of them are born out of misinformation and disinformation, and the way that information is being used and weaponized to turn people against each other is very dangerous. And the trends, because right now information travels very fast, so it's very fast, and it's democratized to an extent that anyone can be seated somewhere and just write something that will, arc another community and then create a conflict. So I kind of feel that we are not safe per se as a region, because our region has been, like Gitao said, it's a region that has seen war. It's a region that has seen, and this war has then created lots of the economic challenges that we're facing right now. We are not very far away from war. It's either one country or another, but there is always something happening in our region. And one of our facilitators in this IGAD Leadership Academy actually called it the forever war. We are always fighting in the Horn of Africa over something. There is always something that we are fighting over. So I feel that we need to use the tools that we have right now, like social media, because I am a journalist, trained journalist. I now teach journalists, but everybody is a journalist right now. Everybody that has a smartphone and a social media platform can communicate their views on things. So now, as leaders, it falls on us to ensure that the communications that we put out there, because people believe in us. So the difference right now is not who has a microphone. It is everyone has a microphone, but what cuts you apart is the believability. And as leaders that have believability, we must be very careful what information we amplify. Because a retweet, just retweeting or reposting something, you may think that it is harmless, but if Tesfaye retweets something, it's very different from if some girl somewhere in Kampala who probably nobody knows retweets the same thing. So certain people are just waiting to see, has Daniel Lutaya retweeted this thing? If he has retweeted it, then it is true. So we must recognize our power and use that power for the good. Peace building in this region. I think that is the most important thing. All our economic challenges will be solved if we can end the forever war.
Thank you very much. And I do agree with my colleague Daniel on the importance of social media, because social media has the potential to start wars and even end wars. But then back to your question on what I think this leadership training, how it would probably help me promote or rather contribute towards the prevention of conflict within the Horn of Africa region. Well, these, what I would say is we do have institutions within the region such as IGAD and the African Union. And as Africans, if we use these institutions to work for us, then it's something that would be a step in the right way forward, right? So this would mean strengthening the institution, and in the sense of, for instance, with the training that I've got, I would borrow the mantra by the African Union on silencing the guns. So I would campaign for probably putting down the gun and picking a book. As I've mentioned, in the community work that I do, we champion for education through book donation drives. So in these communities that we are actually having conflicts, because you realize that some of the people who are actually involved in the wars are not the old men and women who are making decisions in those big offices. The people who are actually going to wars in our communities, the people who are actually participating actively in these conflicts are young people like yourself, myself, and other young people in this room. So if we can probably change the mindset of our young people and help them understand that there are other ways to resolve the conflicts that we have apart from picking up weapons, then that would be a step in the right direction. So through the transformative leadership education I've gotten from this training, then I would personally campaign for our people, our young people, just putting down the guns, putting down the machetes, picking up a book, because also literacy does a lot. When you go and read about history, when you go and read about the laws of your country, you will not just wait to be radicalized by leaders who are selfish to do what they want, because we would want to assume that conflict comes out of very big things, but that's not the case. It is some issues that the people who have the power use to radicalize the young people to actually do what they want to gain but then the people who are losing are the people on the ground. The women who are being raped are our sisters, our mothers, our aunties. The men who are losing their lives, the men who are getting injured, they are our young brothers and sisters. So from what I've learned through this training, I would put forward a different school of thought to the young people in my community to think about better ways of resolving conflict. Thank you.
I think, as my colleagues have mentioned, we're living through a very interesting time right now. Before, it used to be independence movements and ideology-based movements, and now we've moved on to more like smaller civil wars that are just as impactful, and small arms proliferation and disinformation. And we're living through a period of transition, and as we're living in that period, I think it's a time for reflection into the past. So one of the exercises we did during the training was we did a team-based activity where we went across the room and painted on the same portrait. And one of our colleagues mentioned that the lesson they got from this was that you shouldn't just destroy everything somebody did previously, that you should look at what they painted, look at what they've done so far, and say, okay, this is what they did right, this is what they did wrong, this is what I can learn from this, and this is how I will moving forward. And I think that reflecting and critiquing a state, the state of a state, is the best way to move forward and to understand that these are the practical solutions I can come up with based on what I've seen so far, based on what my predecessors have done. So if, for example, one of us were to come into a position of power, we shouldn't burn it all to the ground and start from scratch. We should look at what's been done so far, because some good things have been done, some bad things have been done, and that's how you know which one's good and which one's bad. So sort of being in a constant state of reflection and introspection is the best way to understand what to do and what policies to come up with, because you can't know how your policy is going to impact a community if you don't see how another policy, the previous policy, impacted the same community. And there's so much untapped creativity and untapped genius in the continent, and it's getting drained by going to advanced societies that have had their time to critique their own states, to reflect, to grow, and now it's our turn to grow, and it's our turn to sort of tap into markets that haven't been tapped into. So I would say sitting down and actually taking a moment to say, okay, what did they do wrong and what can I do right is the best way to go about it. And one of the biggest aspects that I've gotten out of this training is self-reflection, the importance of self-reflection and the importance of learning from past mistakes to understand how to move forward into the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think this really gives a very good feeling that the IGAD Leadership Academy is creating already an impact, because you really have what you want to go and do, what you want to contribute to your country and your communities. Talking of misinformation, it's believed that the 2016 crisis, which started in South Sudan, it started with a Facebook post. One of the gentlemen who was in Nairobi here posted on Facebook that the first vice president is arrested. And that was the beginning of the 2016 conflict in South Sudan. So you see how the media really spread very fast. And we believe IGAD leaders, the IGAD leaders in the region, they have done tremendous job in mediating the conflict in South Sudan, and also I think in Ethiopia as well, in Somalia, that working day and night to ensure that there is peace and security in the region. But again, also, the IGAD leaders must have run short. They must have had something that should have done to avoid the crisis that we are having right now. So, and I want to ask Mr. Samuel that what do you think some of the roles that the IGAD leaders have failed to do that would have prevented the conflict in the region? That's one. And do you think the IGAD Leadership Academy will be able to create ethical, accountable young leaders who will transform the Horn of Africa and Africa at large?
Thank you, Daniel. That's quite an interesting question. I believe the IGAD region and the IGAD as an institution has done what they could have done in their capacity. But one thing that I have established, based on my own independent research, is that they have not been in a position to come up with a coherent governance agenda that creates room for failure to adhere to the rule of law, which basically is the organogram of a state. So when there are loopholes that allow dictatorial regimes, you allow hegemonies, creation of hegemonies in democratic states such as in the IGAD region. That is why we end up with conflicts, and then they end up spending time that would have been used otherwise in development for resolution of conflicts. So I believe the IGAD region should through the IGAD Leadership Academy, come up with ideas on establishing and mooting coherent governance agendas. And given our different, diverse cultural, social, and political backgrounds, the Academy could perhaps come up with an approach that is not a one-fit-size approach. The issues that Kenya are facing are different from what Ethiopia, Sudan, and so on and so facing. For example, you can come up with a conflict resolution mechanism for a country like Kenya that enjoys a new constitution that has a lot of democracy. You don't want to you don't want to treat a disease that we are not sick of, rather. So what I would propose the Academy to adopt is thinking through the transition from our colonial period all through the 90s and now what we are experiencing in the new generation, come up with a sort of hybrid model that appreciates our past, appreciates our current, and foresees our future, in my view.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. We are left with a few minutes to wrap up, but before that, I want to throw the ball to our audiences. If you have a comment or a question to the panelists here, and please, you just have like 1 minute each. You can raise your hand if you have a comment or a question to the panelists here. Yes, Mr. Solomon.
Okay. Thank you for the insights that we heard from the panelists. Mine is actually to add on the issue that we have in our region, the conflict between IGAD member states, their cause and the mechanisms that they are handled, and the contribution of such young leaders on this agenda. I believe that the challenges that the region has are many, but basically I believe one of the problem is the problems with leadership. This is one. So this stems from different factors. There are internal factors within that leadership. There are, of course, factors within that region, within member states, and there are factors that contribute to this challenge from external. I mean, outside the region. Call it from elsewhere, other part of the world, maybe call it from the West. So I would say, had member states been strong from their within, especially the quality of leadership that the member states have, had it been that fits this 21st century, I wouldn't expect that this region be where it is now. So I can say the impact, I mean the contribution of these young leaders in this is a lot. It expected a lot of things from these young leaders, and those already in power are also their role to play, because the member states have their own problems within, like they are creating problems within themselves. Maybe this can be debatable, but I believe they should sit together, and member states should not be creating a room for someone else to come and intervene or just distort the region. And the rest of the world is, of course, diplomacy. There is no way we can solve this. It's active diplomacy through the region, member states, and activists like this. Podcast distributors, communicators, activists in the region can also play their role.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon. Yes. And we had Mercy.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I really want to say that I agree with what my fellows on the panel have said regarding the IGAD training fellowship. And this is not something that I would wish to just to remain with us, not the invariable insights, the lessons, like they said about personal reflections. Before you hold the leaders accountable, you as a leader, what are you doing to have the change that you want to do? But then decide that, okay, we've gotten the knowledge, the insights. Are they going to just remain with us? Because I believe there are other young people actually who want to be in such a space, but they are not able to find such a space. So I'll just implore that each one of us here in the Sumda, the fellows, we could be the IGAD Training Academy, maybe when you go back to our various countries, to zero down in communities, where also to pass off this information that we've gotten from IGAD training. I think it's one way of paying it forward, but then also building a trail of the leaders that we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. Yes, we have a hand here. Let's limit to 1 minute so that we can. We're left with less than 10 minutes.
Okay. First of all, thank you all. It was a very nice and engaging and enlightening discussion. So my question is for you, Daniel. You were discussing or talking about misinformation and disinformation and how it has the power to start a conflict. So in that case, in many, I guess, African countries, when there is some form of disturbance or protest, the first thing to go is the internet. So can you maybe argue that that decision is justified because of the impact of social media, or do you think that's also a violation of human rights? Thank you.
Right, that question is to Mr. Daniel. Let's speak more question or comments, then we can give him the mic. I would appreciate if you mention your names and the country you're coming from.
Okay, my name is Hussein. I'm from Djibouti. It's kind of recommendation and question also. The first one, it's young leaders, as we say in Somali language, it's like one hand cannot wash itself. So young leaders are not, they cannot do everything alone. So what I'm exhorting is to associate themselves, the civil society organizations like women-led organizations, young-led organizations, obviously local. And my question is for everyone who is in the panel, do you think that if we have this kind of collaboration, we can overcome these issues that we have in East Africa? I mean, those conflicts around those countries. Is it possible to overcome if we have coordination between the public, I mean the government, the civil society organizations, young leaders, all people in the country as well? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now that I have the mic, can I
please,
ask a question?
Yes.
I've listened to the conversation, and my question would be, what plans, what strategies are you going to use to bring change through social media?
Is it directed to a specific person, or any of them can answer?
All of you.
Okay, thank you.
Mine is maybe to the two ladies, Kidi and Joy. We know very much that in every conflict, the people who suffer the bigger brunt of it is women and children. And we get that in a country like Kenya, we've not yet been able to meet the 2/3 gender rule properly. That's why we have so many nominated women, but so many elected women. And the elected ones are the ones who get a chance to call almost all the shots. in relation to the other countries in the Horn of Africa, if that is the state of all the countries, I find it very difficult for us to achieve safety and protection for women in times of crisis if women are not able to sit on the decision-making tables. So I don't know how it is in different countries, but how do you guys feel if we push for maybe a legislation or a petition to make sure that even in IGAD or in these other member states, we make sure that women are sitting in these making tables in terms of peace, security, so that they're just not left to focus on gender alone. Even in budgeting, how can we ensure that we have like responsive budgeting, that we have the women, the youth involved?
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Joljol Yahya, and I'm from Sudan. So basically, we know that Sudan as a country has been at war for many, many years. We have had one of the longest running civil wars in Sudan that ended in 2005, and IGAD has facilitated that. But then again, another wars erupted in the Western Sudan, specifically the Darfur region. And that war has also continued for about 20 or 25 years now. And then most recently, 2 years ago in Khartoum, another war erupted. So based on the knowledge that we have gained from the leadership workshop, what do you think the best leadership scenarios that we can use to address issues of conflict and bring peace that is rooted in development? Yeah, so what are some of the leadership that you think are really best in our context in Sudan?
All right, thank you. Maybe the last one, if there's nobody else, can we have as the last, then we can answer the questions.
Thank you so much for the conversation. You all are doing an amazing job, and we are so proud of the work that you're doing in your various countries. So the problems of Africa have been identified, and I love the fact that you're talking about them so passionately. We've talked about war, we've talked about the poor governance that is in our various countries. So I would love to ask, ni nini inafanya tusikwe na muungano wa kijumuiya? I'm trying to mean, what exactly is stopping us from making the steps that are required? Is it the system? Is it the politician? What exactly is stopping us from having the continent that we desire? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it directed to a specific person, or any of them can answer? All right, thank you. Now you can answer the questions where you feel you can respond to. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I will attend to the question by Joy and also by Mercy. So Joy, from what I understood, you want to understand why there is lack of integration, regional integration amongst the Horn of Africa countries, right? Well, I think one thing we need to understand is that a state is like you as an individual, and we are selfish people, and I want you to understand that states are selfish. That's the beginning point for you to be able to understand why states behave the way they behave. So in that sense, states will most likely work towards realizing their national interests, their national security. Therefore, before they look outside their state, their nation, they will look within themselves. And even with an example of individuals, for you to probably understand better, we are at different development stages. Even for these IGAD countries, we all got our independence probably in different times. We had different colonizers, and this has definitely played a role in the kind of states we've developed into. So we might really want to champion for one regional group such as the IGAD to be strong and fully integrated. And yes, I believe we might get there because I am a Pan-Africanist and I believe in the power of Africans coming together to resolve our problems, finding African solutions to African problems. But then, even as we go on this journey, because it is a journey, we have stalled, as one of our colleagues mentioned during the session, but still there is hope. And trainings such as this are an example of the much we can do, because we are being sharpened to go back to the 8 IGAD countries and make a difference. We are the ones to use the power of diplomacy, for example, during discussions to bring a difference and to call for stronger regional integration. We are the ones to work with, for example, my community organization and someone's community organization in South Sudan, in Uganda. That's how we bring about stronger regional integration, because we have similar problems. So I believe it's a goal. If we do the work, we will get there. But meanwhile, we can do the little we can, as I've given examples. Sorry, I'll answer the gender one very quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Kindly. So in regards to gender, because it's an area that I'm very passionate about, and I agree with you, there are so many challenges with regards to leadership and women in our national assemblies, also in the regional bodies. But then now, I'll call to your attention trainings such as these. We've been taken through the gender transformative leadership, and to remind you, it's a process. It's not something we can achieve overnight. In addition to that, something that we've been reminded is that when we are talking about the gender agenda, it's not just about the women, but also the men. So in as much as we have less representation of women in these rooms of power, I believe that by empowering these men we have on the room, then they can also champion for our rights, in the sense that we do not have to be there, but we have empowered our men to know that in these wars, the women will suffer. In these wars, my mother will suffer, my sister will suffer, my daughter will suffer. And in that sense, they will be able to champion for our rights, even without us being in the room. But that does not mean that we do not need more women in the decision-making rooms. We do need, and we will continue championing for gender equality through gender equity. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mr. Daniel.
And I'm guessing this would be the last time that we speak, so we have to wrap up, isn't it? Okay, so I had one question, which I will answer. Blocking social media whenever we have elections or tumultuous times in our region. It happens a lot. Kenya blocks certain apps. Uganda blocks the whole social media. Other countries also do the same. Some even shut down the entire internet. That is similar to switching off electricity, because electricity is not only important for sending social media messages or for people to use TV. It's if government is angry with television, then they switch off electricity. Babies that are in the high dependency unit are going to die if you switch off electricity, because hospitals won't have electricity. It's the same thing I would liken to if you have very long hair and you really don't want to cut the hair all the time, and then you decide to take chemotherapy, because chemotherapy has the effect of removing your hair, but it's also killing certain things. So I think the governments are just failing to create trust. And I'll give you an example. Before the Pope was voted, the recent Pope that was voted, Pope Leo. Yes. So before the Pope was elected, there was a bit of misinformation, disinformation here and there, but the Vatican did not panic. Why? They have credibility. There is no institution, there is no media house that is credible about who is the next Pope than the Vatican organization. It doesn't matter how many AI photos came out of different people dressed as the Pope, the Vatican is credible. Now, our governments have lost credibility. Their people don't trust them. The people trust any other person than the government. So it is an indictment on the governments themselves because they have failed to be credible enough for people to wait for the information. For example, if somebody said, Daniel Lutaya is dead, who is the authority on that issue? It is me. If I came out and posted a video and said, I am alive, that is gone. But if I am not credible enough to even denounce my own death announcement, then that is a problem. So if someone says that, the government has stolen $30 billion, yesterday, President X of this country stole $30 billion, and someone posts that on X or on Facebook. If a government is credible enough, they can go to social media and refute it, and their people will believe them. So it is an indictment on government. They really don't have to close social media because it creates lots of problems. Now, my parting remarks is about the older generation. I think IGAD Leadership Academy is an amazing idea that is going to create the next brand of leaders in this region that are going to transform our region into what we all think it's going to become. But I want to talk directly to the leaders and us here in the first cohort. Nobody is going to give us this leadership. And when we talk about youth empowerment, no one is going to empower you. Empowerment comes through receiving power. And power is gotten through receiving finance. So money and power moves together. If you want to be a leader, you need money in order for you to lead. So we must emphasize to the young people, go out there, let's do business. Let's get jobs. Let's do things such that we are economically empowered, not to listen to the older generation. And I think the reason why IGAD is training young people, even Gen Zs, because they even themselves believe that the older generation is gone. It doesn't matter how many times you train them and teach them about empathy, they just don't listen. They want to buy $50 million shoes and watches and whatever. So the new generation, I'm sure that Daniel, if Daniel becomes a leader or the Prime Minister of South Sudan, he will, if I am the leader of Uganda, Daniel, because we were in this IGAD Leadership Academy, will have a conversation on WhatsApp before we pull out guns and invade one another. So I think that is the vision, that the future is with us, and the older generation, they can train them. It doesn't matter how many times you sit with them, they will still fight over something. And that's how we've had a forever war. Thank you.
I want to accept the prophecy that we will become presidents in the near future. Yes, welcome.
Okay, this is going off of a lot of Daniel's thoughts because they are very good thoughts. But one of the questions Joy raised, for example, is what is wrong with our leaders? Why can't we change anything? Why can't there be a different outcome? And it is a cultural issue. We have created a culture of scarcity that leads politicians to believe that they must come into positions of power, take as much money as they can, and leave. And that is a systemic issue. So we have to save ourselves, like Daniel said. We have to cultivate systems that address these fundamental inherent issues. And for example, with the disinformation question, Facebook after the Ethiopian civil war came up with an ethics committee to address disinformation and misinformation. But then once the Trump administration came into power, they more or less dropped it. So we can't wait for these multinational corporations and these foreign interventions to come and address these issues for us. We have to do it ourselves. And for example, for the misinformation and disinformation one, journalists like Daniel have to cultivate independent, legitimate, credible media that is separate from the state, separate from any type of like subjective bias, even though subjective bias is almost impossible to avoid. But to the best of our abilities, we have to combat these things from a bottom-up approach. And in terms of the gendered question that Mercy asked, I think, again, there is strength in numbers, and when we meet like this and we meet other women, I've met incredible women that are working in different sectors of their countries to address GBV, to address femicide, to address the lack of representation in parliament and community councils. And I think, again, let me emphasize, there is strength in numbers and there is strength in purpose. Where there is a will, there is a way. And I think if you want to provide psychosocial support to refugees, you have to meet with other women that also want to provide psychosocial support to women in refugee settlements. And all this to say, we have to change the culture by creating our own culture, and we have to create a system that doesn't believe in scarcity, but rather abundance, in the abundance of our youth, in the abundance of our ideas, and in the abundance of our own leadership. And that is my parting shot.
Thank you.
I think my colleagues have said almost everything, so I have very little to add. But I'm going to respond to one of the questions that my friend asked here on what are we going to do. I think, in my view, one of the most practical things to do is, the moment you leave this academy, just go and run for office. We have realized that as a region, all our decisions are centered around political leadership. So some of these things that we pretend to create, to moot policies, memorandas, can only be effected when we are in office. We are not building memorandas to go and push them in offices to be implemented by those policymakers. We want to create policies that we ourselves will effect in our positions of leadership. So I am asking all of us here, there is the elections in Uganda next in 2026. The election,
South Sudan too, 2026.
2026. We have elections in Kenya in 2027. So it will be, the joy of most of us, including the IGAD Leadership Academy, to see people running for actual offices. Finally, I want to respond to a question by Joy on the necessity to reform IGAD. IGAD reforms, there have been conversations about UN reforms and so on and so forth. But I think IGAD has done its best. The creation of such an academy, IGAD Leadership Academy, that centers on building an ethical leader, number one. Number two, leaders who respect the rule of law. As a region, we are battling our issues because we have leaders who do not respect the rule of law. The moment we become those leaders who can respect the rule of law, then we do not need any other academy. That's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will not ask you guys to say your last words because you have spoken enough. And to the IGAD Leadership Academy, thank you very much for investing in us, giving us knowledge. We are well equipped. It's like we are on fire now. We want to explode. So when you go to our countries, just expect a lot. We're going to do a lot. And just for your information, this discussion, hopefully it will be on IGAD Leadership Academy Facebook socials. Please follow those socials, IGAD Leadership Academy, IGAD, and share, because we want a lot of young people to get this information. It will be on the Daniel Mwaka Show page as well. You can go and like and share. And this conversation is a challenge to all of us that if you can go back to your country and organize a discussion like this for a group of people, that will be amazing. Thank you very much, and please have a good night.